Chapter 1.
Morning. The pleading screams and cries of Mrs. Merrill shot clean from her throat, blood seeping down from the horizontal ends of her plump lips, curved into a frown. She clung onto her own gaping throat with her weakened right hand and pushed her drooling grey husband back with her left in a quick strive. Impact little from her partially consumed windpipe, aching a storm. Her fingers and the gash fit like a puzzle, a gooey, horrific puzzle. Merrill fell back in fear of herself, flinching her hand away from him. What if she'd been hallucinating, like she'd done at the nighttime stay in Toronto for RJ's Scotfield tour when she hadn't taken her inhaler hits? Boy, would she regret that. The zombified Carl Merrill lunged toward his weeping wife and flung two sharp fingernails at her eyes, blinding her, and for a brief, horrifying moment, her screams swelled. Her deep, frequent inhales, in harmony with the spitting of saliva, only made the pain slice worse and slow, like a dull machete to a set of fingers. She finally fell hopeless, her screeching empathizing with her sore throat. The cries died down to pathetic moans and whimpers. Finally, the fiend took her to the ground, arms paralyzed up to her breasts in terror, and bit a chunk of her brain from her leaking skull, gushing so much blood it could fill a fairly sized bucket. And so he went, munching away at her squishy brain, tugging out Merrill's deflated intestines, pricked by exhaustion and that she'd soiled herself. The gas from inside her colon spurted out aggressively in a gloosh as he dug in. Not a single soul, except those who simply didn't care or gave faint interest, was conscious enough to hear her pleading and wailing in this dead night. The crackling and booms of thunder howled throughout the county's wide consistings, which didn't help. The walls mocked the woman's seemingly shriveled small body. The widow's soul slipped out from her mutilated corpse, still shrieking and tight as a lingering mist that rose to the heavens. The spring dusk's air thickened in an instant, the atmosphere blue and grey with slight fog. Clouds flooded the skies like a baking sheet, and the rain that trickled down for a few seconds, the tasteless avocado oil. Lightning struck up the driveway of Merrill's, staining the concrete dark of hot smothers, marking the start of daylight and the first day of the plague that awaited. Andrew lay in bed, glasses crooked, notebook blank. No call from his mother. She never woke him. 5:45 a.m. sharp. His mother had been sick all week, coughing through the night. Normally, she'd have woken him for breakfast, but the house was quiet, thick with the smell of medicine. Then a shriek, the Merrills again. At first, he shrugged it off, familiar bickering, messy fights, but then the sounds changed, wet, low, wrong. 2 minutes later, the noise persisted. Andrew leapt from bed, surprised his mother hadn't appeared. Glasses askew, he crept to the door and peered into the dim hallway. Nothing, just a faint gargle, like blood bubbling. His stomach twisted. He moved downstairs. Each step creaked. Silence pressed around him. The Merrill house loomed to the left, unnaturally still. He shook his head, thinking coincidence, then froze. Something had shifted. Past the kitchen, he glanced toward the couch by the window. Cold, grey light spilled across it. Then he saw him.
Sir Merrill, you okay out there?
Mr. Merrill? You.
Carl Merrill stood outside in his own yard, eating a slice of cheesecake. His eyes were glassy and his movements jerky. Cream clung to his lips, smeared down his fingers, a grotesque parody of normalcy. Andrew blinked. In the next heartbeat, Carl was gone. Andrew's gaze returned to the Merrill house. The shadows pooled thickly around the warped green walls, now silent, yet still threatening. His stomach roiled at the thought of what had just happened. He clenched the notebook to his chest, scribbling a single word in a shaky script.
Plague.
The wind whistled through the cracked window frames, carrying the scent of wet earth and blood. Andrew shivered, pulling his coat tighter. He had to move. Every instinct screamed to flee, yet something drew him closer, a compulsion he couldn't name. The Merrill house had become a beacon, a grotesque signal in the grey morning, marking the start of something unspeakable. He stepped outside, the grass squelched beneath his shoes, cold droplets soaking through. The street was empty. Silence, broken only by the distant roll of thunder, pressed in around him. His eyes scanned the Merrill yard. Nothing. Only the lingering sense that Carl, alive or dead, human or not, had seen him. A soft crunch from the driveway. Andrew froze. There, at the edge of the yard, a slice of cheesecake lay abandoned on the wet concrete, the creamy filling smeared into the cracks. A single fingerprint, grotesque and sticky, trailed into the grass. Andrew knew with a bone-deep certainty that an infection had begun, and it was already inside of the Merrill house. The bus dropped him at school. Backpack heavy, he scanned the blacktop and tree line near the playground. The air felt tight, electric. Something had shifted. In the hallways, whispers drifted from classrooms.
Did your mom call you back?
She keeps saying it. Something about the end.
I swear, the squirrels are acting off.
Cheesecake. Still here. Why?
Andrew hunched his shoulders, head down. Pale, tense students traded glances. A faint, metallic sweetness hung in the air. Wrong, he muttered.
Everyone's losing it.
Shadows beyond the doors seemed alive. He rounded the corner and reached the lab. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. He pushed the door open. Figures moved in the tree line, fast, wrong, empty-eyed. The teacher's whistle pierced the air. Screams erupted. Andrew froze, gripping his backpack. The playground wasn't a playground anymore. It was a lure. Limbs jerked like puppets remembering old habits. Blood ran from torn mouths. One kid whispered, trembling.
They don't even look human.
A horse stumbled from the trees, twitching violently, foam dripping from its mouth. Birds erupted, then fell stiff. Everything was wrong. Teachers shouted, chairs toppled.
They're coming in!
Someone cried. Andrew ducked under the lab sink, clutching a pencil like a weapon. Rot crept under the door, metallic tang mixing with the thick, sour air. His heart hammered. Only 2 classes reached the final double doors. ID scanners clicked green, barely in time. The Horde surged, glass shattered. The school was no longer a refuge, it was a trap. Pressed into darkness, Andrew realized the parasite had touched everything, human, animal, even the air. Breathing could betray him. His chest tightened. Step, breath, rot, panic, couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Then silence. Footsteps followed, bare, slow, wet. They glided across the floor like something from the swamp. A pause, directly beside him. A scream. The cabinet burst open, 2 more screams, his classmates, then the sounds of tearing flesh. This is not a safe place anymore, he whispered to himself. He ran, out from under the sink, past the carnage. The air reeked of iron and decay. He didn't dare look back. He closed the lab door and stepped over heaps of shattered glass. The hallway smelled horribly of rot. He ran deeper into the building, searching for the rooftop stairway, locked, No creatures in sight. Yet.
Come on, come on.
He turned back toward the shattered double doors. If he could grab an ID from a counselor, he might still get onto that rooftop. Andrew crouched on the balcony of level 3, eyes scanning the corridor below. Red stains marred the carpet edges. Debris, papers, splintered wood, lay scattered like breadcrumbs of violence. Across the hall, a figure flickered at the edge of his vision, too far, too still. Human or something else? Its gaze, if it even had one, seemed to pierce him. By the time he focused, it was gone. Think, watch, don't make noise. Every muscle is taut, no sudden movements, every second counted. He edged toward the stairwell. Level 2. Tiles near the railing would squeak. Step lightly. Stay low. Descending carefully, he counted tiles in his head, moving like a shadow. Behind him, a scrape, wet, deliberate, reminded him he wasn't alone, not ever. Eyes open, move slowly. Level 2 spread out ahead, the main hall stretching toward the kitchen and double doors. Chaos wasn't visible, but traces lingered. Blood, splintered furniture, small pools of gore. The path isn't clear, watch for traps. Movement caught his eye. A horse stumbled through the double doors, hooves slick on broken glass. Andrew froze. Its flanks were torn, bite marks deep and raw. Patches of fur and flesh had been eaten. They feed on anything. Don't get close. Its wide, terrified eyes met his for a heartbeat. Then it bolted. Hooves skidded, leaving streaks of blood and echoes that seemed to linger. The presence behind him reacted instantly. Andrew's pulse spiked, but he didn't run. Steady, precise, stay ahead, don't panic. He shifted his weight, adjusted his backpack, and moved with deliberate, silent steps, keeping shadows between himself and the follower. He reached the cafeteria hall and slammed the door behind him, but it didn't budge. Something held it. Then the girl burst in. She knocked him back, slamming the door closed.
Shut up.
She hissed, eyes darting to the door Andrew had just banged.
We don't have time. We need to move. Now.
Andrew didn't argue. He crouched low behind the kitchen counters with her. Crouch, observe, plan. Every sound counts. Watch the door, the hall, the floor. The kitchen stretched out, cold steel under harsh fluorescent lights. Behind the door, faint scraping, metallic hissing, shuffling across tiles. They're learning, they're hunting. Don't give them a reason to see you. Wait, move when safe. Andrew's eyes flicked to scattered milk cartons and a cheesecake atop one, a school emblem, government issued, signals, traps, trust nothing. Every breath, every movement, every thought was survival. He didn't want to live, he had to. The tiles ran with blood, a butcher's plate. From the corner beyond the counters they crept, something feasting in the cafeteria. Andrew looked to the girl for her silent approval before peeking his head beyond the island countertop. The lunch lady hunched over, feeding. In her grasp appeared a child, too young and devoured to say. Someone left him here and locked the nurse's door. The lunch lady was oblivious. Andrew's stomach twisted. He looked back at the girl with the eyes of a dead man and put a finger over his lips to hush. When he returned his gaze, the lunch lady was staring directly at him, her fingers dripping and her tongue wiggling around the end of her lips like a reptile. Andrew was driven straight into the counter behind him. The knife slid toward the girl after dropping from his hands. Pummeled and slapped around, blood creeping from the sides of his lips, his breath fading. He struggled.
Any help here?
He called. The girl shook herself awake and bent down for the blade. Her knees gave way, and she collapsed forward.
Fuck!
She screamed.
Come on.
Her fingers wrapped around it, and she brought herself up, She crept toward the rotting woman, blade overhead, and swung. Ksh! Andrew fell to the floor as the rotting lady stumbled back, blood gushing from the neck.
You.
Bitch!
She groaned. Her voice came out like a hibernating lion, scuffled and raw. The boy grabbed another knife from the board he had taken the first from and lunged forward, pressing it further into the lady's neck. The rotting woman's eyes welled with blood, a child's quiet cry trapped in their depths, almost as if she didn't want to do it. Before she could clamp her bloodthirsty gums onto the girl's skull, she bit down on the blade, rising through her head, forcing herself down. A shiver ran up Andrew's spine, but he pulled the knife free as her body thrashed. The lady stumbled backward, slick with blood and gore, her bulk rolling like a swollen organ before she collapsed, twitching violently, gasping through the wound. Silence followed, broken only by the faint, persistent knocking on the door. The boy and girl stared at each other quietly. They had saved each other's lives. The terror of the last minutes lingered, but in their eyes a silent understanding had formed.
I need a breather.
The girl said.
Can I talk now?
Andrew replied somewhat snarkily. She only replied with a sigh. Steam curled from the hot sink, mixing with the acrid scent of blood and sweat, and for a moment Andrew felt the cold school air soften around him. The girl rested her hands under the running water, letting the heat chase away the chill and grime, her shoulders sagging slightly. Andrew splashed water on his face. The warmth cut through the cold, stale air. For a moment, he breathed. The girl scrubbed her hands, staring at the steaming sink. The mist curled around them, softening the stench of blood. Her shoulders sagged, exhaustion evident. Andrew ran his hands under the hot water, letting the steam wash over his face. He glanced at her, silently grateful for the presence beside him. The quiet between them felt almost safe. Andrew wiped his hands on his shirt and said,
I'm Andrew.
She nodded, a faint smile tugging at her lips. Andrew asked,
How long have you been following me? ?
Maya said.
Since they left. My philosophy class was down the hall from where you saw me.
Andrew cracked a half smile.
Oh, so you were watching me? Why?
Maya's eyes glinted.
Not watching. Just making sure you didn't become one of them before I got the chance to.
Maya leaned against the sink, steam curling around her face.
Where were you when it started at the school?
She asked.
Level 2.
Andrew said.
I heard people get eaten alive. By the time I ran out, they were past level 2, down to level 1, and up to level 3.
He glanced at her.
I went up to level 3 to try the roof, see if I could reach level 4. The rooftop. Animals are infected too, so I didn't know if birds would be a problem.
A sudden, deep, gravely howl cut through the quiet, shaking the walls. Steam rose from the sink, curling like smoke in the harsh AC, but it did little to ease the tension. Maya's eyes flicked toward the door, then back at Andrew, her voice low, steady.
Since it started, of course. I've been making it through level 3.
Andrew nodded, remembering the whispers in the hall earlier.
I heard someone talking about cheesecake in the hallway.
He said, trying to sound casual, though his stomach twisted. Maya gave a small, almost knowing smile.
My mom said something about the cheesecake and the government, whatever that means.
A deafening crash cut her off. The zombie's massive fist had slammed against the door, jamming it tight. Andrew shoved against it, but it twisted and forced its arm free with a guttural roar. Maya's eyes darted to the fire axe on the wall. Maya yanked the axe free from its mount. A shrill alarm pierced the cafeteria, echoing off the walls. The Horde pressed against the door, pounding, howling, threatening. With 3 forceful swings, she hacked a hole through the wood. Andrew slid his hand through, turning the lock. The door creaked, groaned, and then gave way. The zombies' freed arm flailed, but they ducked just in time. Beyond the doorway, chaos waited. The kid who had been eaten by the lunch lady had been left behind, gone. They shoved through the opening, pulling the door closed behind them. The axe jammed in the frame, holding the groaning horde at bay. The room beyond was the nurse's office. Shadows pooled behind drawn curtains. The axe pressed against the door, metal biting into wood. Silence stretched, broken only by the faint hiss of the air conditioning. Andrew and Maya leaned against the counter, shoulders trembling, hands slick with blood. Steam rises from the sink, curling in the cold, stale air of the cafeteria. Andrew runs his hands under the hot water, wincing at the sting of blood drying on his skin. Maya follows, splashing a little on her own face, then flicking some toward him. Andrew shook his head as water sluiced over his hair. Maya flicked some droplets at him, and he looked down at his blood-soaked shirt.
Just great,
he said, smiling wryly.
Look what you did to my shirt.
Maya smirked, shaking water from her hands.
At least it's not permanent.
Andrew gave a small shrug, trying to lighten the tension.
I got lucky.
She glanced at him, teasing.
Maybe you got lucky. Or maybe it's the cheesecake.
Andrew raised an eyebrow.
The cheesecake?
You know, in the hall earlier, my mom mentioned it. Something about the government.
She replied. Andrew shook his head, glancing at the blood-stained sink.
I'm no chef or doctor, but I've never seen cheesecake leave people hungry for flesh.
Maya let out a short, dry laugh.
It's the government. Who knows? I just wish she'd call me back.
Andrew's gaze softened, and for a brief moment, his eyes flicked toward her, thinking of his mother. A silent, visible acknowledgement passed between them. No words, just the weight of shared understanding. Andrew's gaze drifted toward the tiled floor as he spoke.
Before all this, Mr. Merrill was just outside my house, eating cheesecake, fingers covered in it. I thought it was some weird early morning thing until I noticed he wasn't chewing right.
Maya's brow furrowed.
The Merrills live by the bus route, right? I've seen them. Her garden's always been dead.
She gave a small, humorless laugh.
Guess she was ahead of the curve.
He almost smiled.
She screamed, loud enough to wake the whole street.
Maya went quiet.
Yeah,
she said softly.
I heard her.
She leaned back against the counter, eyes unfocused.
I was already at school. The first few kids ran out to the playground before the bell. A few teachers were still inside. When it started, I thought they were just playing, running, screaming. I didn't notice until one of the boys climbed the slide.
Her breathing slowed, as if she was seeing it all again.
Someone came out of the trees. Gray. Wrong. The counselors blew their whistles, yelling for the kids to come back. But another one of those things crawled up the slide. The boy who climbed the stairs never made it to the top. Something grabbed him. No one saw him go.
The air thickened between them. The hum of the fluorescent light buzzed faintly above their heads.
Then, silence.
Maya continued, voice barely more than a breath.
Until the one on the slide came down. It wasn't a kid anymore, just a body, half-eaten.
Andrew swallowed hard, not daring to interrupt.
Everyone ran. Teachers, kids, everyone. 2 classes made it through the main doors, but the rest. Some tried the back exits. It didn't matter. By the time I made it up to level 3, they were already there. I saw one of them jump the whole staircase just to get to us.
She looked at the steaming sink again, as if trying to wash her mind with it.
I hid under a pile of bodies. They dragged them off one by one, but not me.
Her voice cracked for the first time.
For some reason, they left me there.
The steam hissed from the faucet, filling the silence between them. A sharp, distant "nee" echoed through the halls mockingly. Both flinched, muscles tensing, hearts hammering in unison. The sound faded, leaving only the scent of iron and the rot in the air. Andrew and Maya lingered near the nurse's office sink, trying to catch their breath. A soft, almost imperceptible movement in the corner of the room caught Andrew's eye. Something glossy, pale, and round. He froze.
Maya, look.
She followed his gaze. At first, it looked like a discarded mask, pale and still. Then a twitch, a lip curling, a tongue darted. The eyes, glassy, fixed on them. Andrew swallowed hard.
That's... He couldn't finish.
Maya's hand went to the axe.
What the hell?
It wasn't until they stepped a little closer, careful not to make a sound, that they realized it was a head. Detached, resting unnaturally upright on the floor, lips quivering like it was alive. Almost alive. A dark, sticky trail led toward the small bathroom off to the side. Something had been dragged here. Something had moved. Their attention sharpened. Andrew crouched low, eyes scanning. The faint echoes of wet, dragging noises, the squelch of something crawling across tile, reached them through the haze of steam. A trail of blood and dark matter marked the path. Whoever, or whatever, had been here had left a story in its wake. A horror that could only be guessed at. Maya whispered, voice barely audible.
Do we follow it?
Andrew hesitated.
We need that key card. Whatever happened, we can piece it together later.
They edged toward the bathroom doorway, the head almost motionless in the nurse's office now, lips still twitching, eyes glazed. The room seemed to hold its breath, as if watching them decide whether to step forward into the nightmare waiting just beyond. Inside the bathroom, the scene unfolded in fractured horror. The survivors who had come before were there, mutilated, faces pressed and twisted as if by fingers, necks broken, eyes gouged. Blood poured from some, slicking the tiles. Between them, the nurse's body writhed, crawling with grotesque determination. She shoved her own shredded torso, trying to feed herself, her mouth opening over the wound as if forcing sustenance into her own throat. The movements were frantic, jerky, and almost purposeful. Andrew's stomach churned. Maya's grip on the axe tightened. They moved carefully, avoiding the mangled bodies strewn across the floor, the remnants of the fight between the nurse and the survivors who had locked the kid in the cafeteria. Finally, Andrew spotted it and pointed forward, the keycard clutched in the nurse's mangled fingers. The object was pristine against the horror surrounding it. He whispered,
It's there.
Maya nodded, eyes scanning the room one last time. Together they approached the nurse. With a swift, decisive strike, they ended her. The body twitched one final time before lying still. Breathing heavily, Andrew lifted the keycard from her hands, staring at it as if it were a lifeline. They backed toward the office door, the trail of chaos behind them leaving questions in the air. How had the nurse come to this? What had happened to the others? Silence, save for the distant hum of alarms and the occasional creak of the school settling. They were ready to move on, to the principal's office next, then the stairs, the rooftop, and beyond. The keycard was their path forward, and every second counted. Andrew and Maya pressed the keycard into their hands like a talisman. Every nerve screamed as they edged toward the connecting door that led into the principal's office. The air felt thicker here, heavy with the metallic tang of old blood, bleach and fear. The office was quiet, almost too quiet. papers scattered across the floor, chairs knocked over. And there he was. The principal slumped over his desk, a neat hole between his eyes, the phone beside him still ringing, cords tangled across the floor. A faint hum lingered, like the echo of a retro home phone left off the hook decades ago. The scene was frozen, intimate, a tableau of horror that spoke volumes without a single sound. Maya's eyes traced the cords, the papers, the coffee mug knocked over.
He didn't even get a chance,
She muttered. Andrew nodded.
Looks like someone, or something, didn't want him to leave this room.
They moved carefully, pressing low to avoid the dark shapes of overturned furniture. The office led into a narrow hall that sloped upward, stairs rattling beneath their careful steps. Faint daylight streamed through broken windows above, casting long, trembling shadows. As they rounded the corner onto level 3, the alarms from the cafeteria still blared, echoing down the hall and clanging off the walls. It flickered and hung from the ceilings, swinging as if something had tried to climb, to reach higher ground, to escape or attack. Zombies stood upright in the hall, swaying slightly like addicts dozing off, heads drooping, eyes half closed. Corpses, eaten, torn, and unrecognizable, littered the floor around them, but the creatures themselves seemed almost inert, caught in some limbo between life and hunger. Andrew's stomach turned. Maya's hand tightened on the axe. Every instinct screamed,
"Don't make a sound."
Step by step, they crouched up the stairs, hearts hammering in unison. Sweat slicked their foreheads. Breaths came short, shallow. Level 4 awaited. The alarm stopped abruptly, leaving a silence so dense it pressed against their ears. Maya gasped, and the sound was enough. A few of the sleeping zombies stirred, groaning low, dragging limbs across the floor as if the daylight had been disturbed too much. Andrew pulled her back.
Stay low. Move slow.
The monsters lunged from the balcony, swinging arms and snapping jaws. They had seconds. Andrew swiped the keycard. The green light blinked. The door clicked open. They slammed it behind them, breath rattling in their chests. Behind it, the zombies pounded, the large, muscled one punching holes in the steel as if it could batter the entire building down. Ahead, the rooftop stretched, sunlight spilling over cracked tiles and railings. Beside them, the parking garage waited, a gap of several meters, the only way forward. A ladder leaned precariously against the roof's edge. Andrew grabbed it, testing its stability.
We jump, we land, we run. Got it?
Maya nodded, teeth gritted, eyes wide.
Let's go.
They positioned the ladder, extended it carefully, and checked the distance. Andrew took a deep breath, muscles coiled.
On 3. 1, 2, 3.
They sprinted, feet pounding tiles, hearts hammering. The ladder wobbled but held. They leapt, adrenaline propelling them across the chasm between the level 4 rooftop and the parking garage beyond. Landing hard, they scrambled to safety, rolling into the shadow of a concrete pillar. Behind them, the sound of steel groaning and zombie roars echoed across the roof, but for now, they were ahead. Breathing, bruised, alive. The school, a trap, a tomb, a nightmare, lay behind them. The keycard burned in Andrew's hand, a small promise of survival and a path forward into the unknown. After landing in the parking garage, Andrew and Maya moved cautiously across the concrete floors. The horde from the school was far behind, but their hearts still hammered with the adrenaline of the rooftop escape. Sunlight angled through shattered windows, dust motes drifting lazily in the stale air. Cars sat like abandoned graves, some flipped, some shattered, but the garage felt calm, almost deceptively quiet. They followed the ramps upward, stepping carefully, scanning every shadow. Their hands occasionally brushed against the cool concrete railings, a reminder of how exposed they were. Eventually, the edge of the garage gave way to something that made them stop in their tracks. Hanging off the side like an impossible fragment of another world was a small concrete hotel, 3 floors stacked precariously, each level jutting outward on narrow beams. The structure teetered slightly, but it was solid enough to walk on if they were careful. Andrew eyed the narrow beams.
This is insane.
Maya didn't answer. She just squared her shoulders and started along the first railing, hands gripping it tightly. Andrew followed, each step deliberate, muscles coiled like spring traps. The wind whispered around them, teasing balance and threatening missteps. Halfway along the sloping walkway that led to the first floor of the hotel, a faint, sliding sound echoed from one of the windows. Both froze. A pane slowly slid open, and a girl's face appeared, wide-eyed and cautious.
You shouldn't be out here,
she called softly, her voice carrying across the precarious concrete.
Wait until you reach me.
Andrew swallowed.
We're not here to hurt anyone.
The girl, Asha, disappeared back into the room, leaving the window ajar. They pressed forward, hands on the railing, adrenaline making every tiny movement feel monumental. The first steps into the hotel were tense, each floor a careful negotiation of beams and narrow walkways, until finally Asha opened the door fully and gestured inside. Andrew and Maya stepped cautiously into the hotel room Asha had opened for them. The interior was cramped but lived in, faded red wallpaper curled at the edges, 2 single beds with thin blankets, and posters of musicians and movies plastered unevenly across the walls. A single window framed the setting sun, its dying light casting long shadows across the small space. Asha, maybe Andrew's age, perched on the edge of one bed, knees pulled to her chest. Her eyes were wide, wary but curious.
You came across the beam,
she said softly, voice trembling.
I wasn't sure anyone would make it. Some people I saw today, they fall off, or they don't even try.
Andrew shook his head.
We didn't have much choice. The Horde was behind us.
Maya leaned against the wall, still breathing hard.
We need a place to stay, for at least a night. You said your family?
Asha's lips pressed together.
I lost them somewhere in the parking garage. Been waiting for anyone to come back. I didn't know if someone would.
She gestured around the room.
You can stay here for now, but I should talk to the family. The others. They're not this keen on strangers.
Andrew looked down from the window. The bottom floor of the hotel remained dark and silent below. The family who lived there didn't respond to the knocks they left before entering Asha's window. Not even the blinds shifted, just a faint shuffle now and then that made him uneasy. Maya tilted her head.
The family? You mean there's more people here?
Asha nodded.
Yes, a few families. Some keep to themselves. The ones below, I think they're careful, or paranoid, or both. You'll see.
They spent the rest of the afternoon catching their breath. Asha offered what little food she had, dried snacks, water bottles, rationed carefully. Conversation was slow at first. Andrew asked how she had ended up here. She shrugged, eyes fixed on the small window, voice soft.
By chance, maybe. Some people built this, partially before everything went wrong. I just stayed with my family.
Maya gave a small laugh, tension easing slightly.
Well, you've got an impressive death trap here.
Asha smiled faintly, a hint of relief.
Dangerous? Yes. Safe? Also yes. Well, so far so good.
Evening fell and the hotel grew quieter. Shadows stretched along the concrete beams outside. Somewhere below, the unresponsive family stayed behind closed doors, movement only hinted at by the occasional shuffle or the sound of a heavy door clicking shut. Andrew and Maya took turns keeping watch, stepping carefully along the narrow slopes outside. The beams pressed against their hands, railings thin or absent in places, forcing them to balance deliberately. The precarious nature of the hotel kept their nerves taut. Asha joined them briefly, perched on the railing with cautious ease.
Don't get too close to the edge,
she warned.
Some people have fallen.
Maya replied.
I think you told us that.
Night settled across the garage and the hotel, and the small trio huddled inside Asha's room. Discussion turned to ration runs, what they knew of the surrounding city, and what dangers could still be lurking below. Asha mentioned the family again, suggesting that tomorrow they might need to ask permission or at least make contact. Andrew studied her carefully.
You think the family will be okay with us?
Asha shook her head.
I don't know. They've been careful and frantic since it started. Don't trust easily.
The three of them lay in the cramped room, listening to distant sounds, the occasional scuff from the garage below, the echo of their own breathing, the faint rustle of wind through broken glass. They were alive, but the world outside, apocalypse, horde, chaos, was still waiting. The room was half dark now, the only light coming from the old radio sitting on the dresser. Its plastic face was yellowed, one knob missing. Asha fiddled with the dial until the static broke, just long enough for a voice to slip through.
Report of mimic behavior. Repeat. Individuals exhibiting mimic behavior.
The three of them froze. Maya leaned forward.
Wait, go back.
Asha twisted the knob again, slow and careful. The voice wavered back into clarity, mechanical and strained, as if coming from a buried transmitter.
Citizens are reminded to dispose of Cheesecake brand products immediately. Certain ingredients, unconfirmed, may act as attractants for the parasitic organism. The Government Food Division recommends burning contaminated items. Do not ingest. Do not inhale fumes.
The signal cracked, dissolved into static, then returned for a brief moment, just long enough to twist their stomachs tighter.
Suspected carriers may appear lucid. Possible symptom. Repetition of familiar phrases. Eye discoloration. Smiling for extended periods. The infected may still mimic.
The radio cut off. Asha turned the dial again, but only white noise answered. For a long moment, no one spoke. Andrew finally said,
That's propaganda, right? Some emergency frequency looping old messages.
Asha's face was pale in the dim light.
Maybe. But it's been repeating all day. Sometimes in pieces. Every night it says something different.
Maya glanced toward the window, at the orange line of the dying sun beyond the beams.
Cheesecake,
She whispered.
The one in the Merrill's kitchen had the same logo.
Asha nodded slowly.
And the one here too. Downstairs in the common room fridge. The family said it was fine.
Andrew exhaled, uneasy.
Guess we'll find out tomorrow.
The radio hissed again, just for a second, like it wanted to speak, then fell silent. The three of them huddled in Asha's room, the red wallpaper flickering in the dim light. Shadows stretched like skeletal fingers across the walls, trembling in rhythm with the wind outside. The beams below groaned under its weight, narrow and unstable, a reminder that any misstep could be fatal. Asha's radio whispered in the corner, static, bleeding fragments of warnings, cheesecake, mimicry, government precautions. Words fractured and overlapping, yet each syllable seemed to claw at their attention. From the beams outside, murmured voices drifted, low, tense, deliberate. Too many words to understand, too human to dismiss. They rose and fell, overlapping, pausing as if listening for a response. Maya froze.
Someone's out there.
Andrew pressed against the wall, squinting into the darkness. A shadow crawled along the railing, deliberate, slow, controlled. The figure moved with jerky, uneven patience, not quite human, yet not fully alien. A scraping echoed across the beam, wet, deliberate. Something twisted, fell, then vanished into the black.
That wasn't human,
Usher whispered. Andrew leaned closer to the window, curiosity gnawing at fear. Cold, glassy eyes met him for a fraction of a second. Then they melted into darkness. Maya gripped his arm.
Don't even think about it. We're done for tonight.
They retreated to the fragile safety of the room, blankets wrapping them like a shield. Outside, whispers merged with the groan of the beams and the distant hum of static. The family downstairs stirred faintly, subtle shuffles suggesting life, or something pretending to be alive. Every creak of the building sounded like a warning. Every gust rattled the railings. The night was alive, but they pretended to sleep. And then, the last thing they remembered before drifting into uneasy slumber, a wet, deliberate crawling across the outer beam. The shadow pressed against the doors below, slow, careful, patient. 1 knock, 2 knocks, 3. Wood thudded under measured taps. The knocks echoed faintly, climbing the walls of the hotel like a pulse. Andrew's heart hammered. Maya's grip tightened. Asha muttered a curse under her breath. The presence lingered, testing, waiting, patient. Outside and unseen it watched. Inside, their breaths came shallow and fast. The red-walled room, once a refuge, now felt more like a cage. Sleep came anyway, heavy, fitful. And outside, the night held its breath with them.